Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a story of, well, raw, desperate resolve. Imagine a nation feeling utterly alone, vulnerable, pushing itself to the absolute limit.
Yeah.
A nation so determined, its leaders famously declared, and I'm quoting here, "We will eat grass but make the bomb."
Wow. That phrase, it really cuts to the core of national determination,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
it absolutely does.
What's striking is how such a stark declaration becomes, the rallying cry for a project of immense complexity and, well, global consequence.
That determination is palpable, and that's precisely what we're here to unpack today. This extraordinary, often really complex journey of Pakistan's nuclear weapons program.
Yeah.
This isn't just a technical tale, though the science is certainly incredible. It's a profound narrative of national survival, intense political will, and, yeah, no small amount of global intrigue.
And our mission today, drawing heavily from Feroz Hassan Khan's comprehensive account, Eating Grass, the Making of the Pakistani Bomb, is really to unravel the myriad obstacles Pakistan overcame.
Right.
We'll explore the interplay of powerful personalities, the scientific ingenuity, and the whole geopolitical backdrop that shaped this, frankly, audacious ambition.
Yeah.
You'll gain a kind of shortcut to being well-informed on a topic that has undeniably reshaped South Asian and, well, global security for decades.
And when we say comprehensive, we really mean it. Khan's work is a scholarly deep dive, rich with direct citations and insights from interviews, both on the record and anonymous, which really assures you of the depth and detail we'll explore. So let's unpack this journey. To truly understand Pakistan's nuclear journey, you really have to go back to its very birth. We're talking about the immediate aftermath of Pakistan's creation in 1947.
Yeah, the partition.
Exactly. The partition of British India wasn't just a political division, it was a deeply traumatic event for millions, and it was exacerbated by Lord Mountbatten's, well, what the source calls his absurd pace in drawing the new borders.
Pace. That says a lot. It was rapid, almost reckless, leaving these wounds that, well, they festered for decades.
It's striking to note how that initial trauma became like a deeply ingrained part of the national psyche. The new border, as drawn, was perceived as neither fair nor just, and the sources highlight that this immediately left Pakistan structurally and geophysically vulnerable to India.
Yeah, imagine a nation born with inherent disadvantages, geographically fragmented, with its two wings separated by 1,000 miles of hostile territory.
Like two distinct entities trying to exist as one state.
Almost. And those foundational grievances really fueled animosity right from day one.
Kashmir obviously was a major flashpoint.
Always.
But then you also had critical disputes over river waters, like the Ravi and Sutlej rivers. These weren't minor disagreements, they were literal lifelines for Pakistan's agricultural heartland.
Absolutely. The very idea that India could, at any moment, divert or cut off these waters felt like an existential threat, like an economic stranglehold just waiting to happen.
So it raises this question: how can a nation build stability when its very foundation feels compromised and strategically vulnerable?
Right. And beyond the external borders, there were immediate internal issues adding to the instability.
Like what?
Well, think about the non-acceptance of Bengali as a national language in East Pakistan. That sparked deep resentment, created this feeling of marginalization.
Okay.
Then there was the contentious settlement of Muslim immigrants, the Muhajirs in Sindh, and the federalization of Karachi, the national capital, that led to significant internal strife.
So these early internal fault lines, coupled with the external vulnerabilities, it created a deep sense of insecurity that would only intensify over time.
Yeah, it was like a pressure cooker from the start.
But all these simmering tensions, these cautious steps, they were about to be overshadowed brutally and irrevocably by an event so catastrophic it would burn away any remaining hesitation.
1971.
Exactly. The dismemberment of the nation in 1971. This wasn't just a military defeat, it was the loss of East Pakistan, the capture of 90,000 prisoners of war by India, and the sheer disintegration of half the country. It left an indelible, agonizing scar.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this event solidified what became known as the never again mindset within the nation. It wasn't merely a political slogan, it was a profound collective trauma that reinforced the belief that adversaries were, well, determined to destroy the very existence of the new state.
And crucially, leaders and scientists alike viewed it as a technological defeat, not just a military one.
That's a vital distinction, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it fundamentally suggested that a conventional military alone was inherently insufficient to guarantee national survival.
The implication was clear. They needed something more, something decisive.
You know, it makes you wonder how such a profound national trauma could drive such an unyielding resolve, pushing them to the absolute limits.
For many in Pakistan, acquiring a nuclear capability became the only way to prevent such humiliation in the future, to preserve their nation's very existence.
It was seen as the ultimate guarantor of sovereignty, the final line of defense against, well, annihilation.
And this led to the evolution of three dominant strategic beliefs that really shaped Pakistan's nuclear thinking. Beliefs largely absent before Bhutto took power in '71.
Okay, what were they?
First, and most crucially, nuclear weapons became perceived as the only guarantee of Pakistan's national survival. Against an inveterately hostile India they believed couldn't be deterred conventionally, and against unreliable external allies who had failed to deliver in times of crisis.
What's truly insightful here is how these weren't just policy points. They became almost a foundational mythology for the state,
Right.
transforming a defensive imperative into a source of immense national pride, a powerful, almost spiritual quest for self-reliance. This fusion of national identity and nuclear ambition, born from such profound vulnerability, it creates a unique psychological underpinning for their deterrent.
And you can trace that belief directly back to painful historical experiences. The '71 defeat, yes, but also the 1965 war, where alliances with the U.S., China, for example, offered little material support when it counted most.
Exactly.
Yeah.
During the 1965 war, the U.S. imposed an arms embargo on both India and Pakistan. Pakistan saw that as a direct betrayal, considering its role as an ally against communism.
They felt abandoned when they needed their ally most. A lesson that truly hardened the resolve for self-reliance. From Pakistan's perspective, they were often left to fend for themselves.
Precisely. The second belief was that Pakistan's program was unfairly singled out for international opposition, particularly because of its Muslim population.
A feeling of victimization.
Yes, accentuated by a perception that India consistently got away with violating global non-proliferation norms without the same level of international condemnation.
Yeah.
And third, the ever-present danger of disarming attacks from India, Israel, or the United States on its nascent nuclear infrastructure. A constant fear that fueled their drive for secrecy and speed.
It's a powerful combination of fears and grievances that solidified over decades. Peter R. Lavoie's concept of nuclear mythmakers really resonates here. Well, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto played a similar role to India's Nehru and Homi Bhabha, nurturing the nuclear program throughout the 1970s.
Okay.
This wasn't just a top-down directive. It became a collective conviction. It meant Pakistan's military, bureaucratic, and scientific establishment were prepared to pay any political, economic, or technical cost to achieve their objective.
And beyond pure deterrence, these weapons also took on a profound symbolic meaning.
How do you mean?
They became a potent symbol of the national scientific establishment's strength, and they were used by national elites to gain political legitimacy and influence at home. This highlights the internal drivers as well as the external ones.
So leaders could rally the nation around this audacious goal, presenting it as a triumph of ingenuity and national will.
Exactly. What's truly striking is the contrast between Pakistan's status as a semi-industrialized developing country and its burgeoning technological expertise in such a cutting-edge field.
It fostered an immense sense of national pride, a belief that they could achieve anything. This powerful drive laid the psychological groundwork.
But the question is, how did the actual program begin, especially under relentless international scrutiny?
So after laying that intense, almost existential groundwork, let's look at Pakistan's early, somewhat hesitant steps. In the 1950s, President Eisenhower's Atoms for Peace program.
Right, promoting civilian nuclear energy.
Exactly. It genuinely fascinated the young nation of Pakistan. This program directly influenced the creation of the Pakistan Atomic Energy Commission, the PAATIC, a crucial first step.
But one key aspect that stands out here is the initial reluctance. Despite the enthusiasm for science, early Pakistani leaders, particularly President Ayub Khan in the 1960s, actually kept the program focused on peaceful civilian purposes.
Which annoyed some people.
Well, it was much to the consternation of his young, hawkish foreign minister, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, who clearly had a different, more ambitious vision for Pakistan's nuclear future, driven by those vulnerabilities we just discussed.
Yeah, the U.S. even supplied a swimming pool-type reactor, PO-1, for research and training in 1957. Think of it as a small, non-power-producing reactor for experiments and training.
Okay.
But an early plea from PAEC chairman Nazir Ahmad for a more advanced heavy water reactor like the CP5 was denied.
And a heavy water reactor is significant because it can produce plutonium, a key component for weapons, as a byproduct.
Right. But at the time, the government had different priorities, like the Warsack Dam. It shows a clear division in focus, a lack of immediate urgency for a weapons program back then.
In connecting this to the bigger picture, Pakistan's alliances, particularly with the U.S., were forged primarily to answer the Indian threat.
But the U.S. saw it differently.
Often, yes. The U.S. viewed these alliances mainly through the prism of superpower competition during the Cold War, largely ignoring or downplaying Pakistan's specific fears about India.
In China?
Pakistan's all-weather friendship with China, while strategically important, translated into little material support in either the 1965 or 1971 wars. This growing distrust of its allies was a critical factor, eroding confidence in external security guarantees.
And there were some really telling incidents that highlighted this growing disillusionment. The U-2 spy plane, famously launched from Peshawar, Pakistan in 1960, that sparked Soviet outrage.
Right. It put Pakistan in a precarious position, caught between superpowers.
Ayub Khan was forced to apologize to the Soviets, and Gromyko, the Soviet foreign minister, apparently replied lightheartedly, "I always keep ahead of the U-2," to Ayub's apology.
Illustrates the complex diplomatic tightrope Pakistan was walking, and the feeling that their sovereignty was being used in a proxy conflict.
Then there were India's threats to cut off river waters, literally life-giving for Pakistan, and the U.S. providing significant military aid to India after the 1962 Sino-Indian War. All these events contributed to a waning U.S. interest in Pakistan's security problems from Pakistan's perspective. It reinforced the idea that they were ultimately on their own.
This complex internal and external environment led to a clear dialectic within Pakistan.
Yep.
Two opposing camps emerged, each vying for influence.
Okay, who were they?
One camp pragmatically advocated caution, a slow, gradual process for nuclear development. Figures like Ayub Khan, some planning commission members, they prioritized economic development, conventional defense,
And the other camp?
enthusiastically pushing for rapid nuclear acquisition and development. Figures like Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, Aga Shahi, Munir Ahmed Khan, driven by the conviction that conventional means alone were insufficient for national survival.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The external world provided a powerful catalyst, the Chinese nuclear test in October 1964.
A fellow developing nation getting the bomb.
Right, and India's subsequent preparations for its own program really pushed the ambitious camp. They realized that the availability of nuclear technology would not last for long as the world tightened controls.
There's a great anecdote about that. Aga Shahi recounted his shock when Ayub Khan dismissed India's nuclear potential.
What did Ayub say?
He said, "Why is the Foreign Office so jittery? What will India do with nuclear weapons? How will they deliver the nuclear system?"
And Shahi's reaction?
Shahi exclaimed, "I was shocked beyond words. How was the bomb dropped on Hiroshima?" That vividly illustrates the internal struggle and the stark lack of early consensus on the gravity of the nuclear threat.
Shows a powerful leader still somewhat oblivious to the changing strategic landscape.
But despite these differing views and leadership hesitancy, foundational work was being laid, largely thanks to Dr. Isra Hussain Usmani,
The visionary.
described as a visionary, not a maverick. He believed in a slow, gradual process of human resource development for nuclear energy. With backing from Professor Abdus Salam, a Nobel laureate and assurance of funds from the Army, Usmani sent people abroad for training on all aspects of nuclear technology, recognizing that without a trained workforce, Pakistan could not move ahead. This foresight was absolutely critical.
That's incredible foresight. He essentially built the crucial scientific backbone, established PINSTEC, the Pakistan Institute of Nuclear Science and Technology.
An architectural masterpiece, apparently.
Yeah. And Usmani also established personal contacts at U.S. national laboratories under Atoms for Peace, fostering crucial international ties for scientific knowledge exchange.
So while early foundations were largely peaceful and focused on capacity building,
A series of external shocks would irrevocably shift Pakistan's nuclear trajectory. So we've seen Pakistan tiptoeing into nuclear science, cautious yet clearly feeling the heat from its neighborhood. With all these complex dynamics at play, what was the singular moment that truly tipped the scales? moving them from this reluctant phase to an undeniable, full-throttle pursuit of the bomb.
That singular moment for many was the national trauma of 1971. We can't overstate the impact of the 1971 war, the sheer disintegration of the country.
East Pakistan rifles disarmed, Bengali soldiers deserting to form the Mukti Bahini,
Leading to India's decisive intervention and Pakistan's dismemberment. This wasn't just a loss of territory, it was a profound national humiliation and identity crisis.
This national catastrophe created an immediate visceral demand for nuclear weapons. The sources quote a Paik scientist who perfectly encapsulates the sentiment. He said, "If we had built the bomb, today India would not have dared to do this. It was not a military, but a technological defeat."
That statement is incredibly powerful, isn't it? It fundamentally reframes the nature of national security for Pakistan. It's not just about tanks and soldiers anymore. It's about advanced technology.
It truly makes you reflect on how a nation's lowest point can become the catalyst for its most ambitious and arguably most controversial project.
It was out of those ashes that the unyielding resolve for a nuclear deterrent truly solidified. The political will was forged in the crucible of that defeat.
This brings us directly to Zulfikar Ali Bhutto's decisive call to action. Upon taking power in late '71, he immediately prioritized the nuclear program.
Right. He convened a pivotal scientists' conference, initially planned for Quetta, but later held in Multan in January 1972, gathering the nation's brightest scientific minds.
This was a truly pivotal moment. Bhutto's direct address to the scientists was designed to galvanize them. While some accounts, like Ishfaq Ahmad's, deny the exact word bomb was used directly at that conference, the message was undeniably clear. He implicitly, if not explicitly, urged them to deliver if India explodes a nuclear device.
It wasn't just a research directive. It was framed as a profound patriotic duty to safeguard the nation's future.
And this is where the legendary quote that frames our deep dive comes in. Bhutto's reported declaration, "We will eat grass, but make the bomb," regardless of whether he said those exact words.
It created a national spirit of defiance. It was a rallying cry that resonated across society. It spoke to the patriotic duty felt by scientists from all backgrounds, particularly the middle class and lower or middle class scientists.
Described as having no element of corruption in them and a great passion and love for Pakistan, this collective, almost zealous will was absolutely crucial.
But not everyone was aligned with Bhutto's urgency and accelerated timeline. A significant event was the controversial removal of Dr. I.H. Usmani as PE chairman in March 1972.
The visionary who built the early infrastructure.
Exactly. He was replaced by Munir Ahmad Khan. Usmani was now perceived as too slow, too cautious.
The reasons for Usmani's removal are complex, maybe somewhat personal. Bhutto reportedly held a grudge due to past disagreements, and he saw Usmani's caution as a hindrance to taking bold steps toward nuclear weapons.
Whereas Munir Ahmad Khan, with his extensive IAEA experience and more aggressive approach, was seen as more aligned with Bhutto's ambition and the urgency of the moment.
Ishfaq Ahmad's quote on Usmani, "He hoped that India would not cross the barrier," highlights that pragmatic yet perhaps hesitant approach.
Yeah, it's sharply contrasted with Bhutto's urgent directive to build a deterrent no matter what.
And then came the ultimate undeniable trigger, India's 1974 nuclear test, codenamed Smiling Buddha.
That underground explosion at Pokhran in May 1974 was, as the source describes it, a death knell for the non-proliferation regime in the region.
Any lingering doubt or internal debate for Pakistan was unequivocally gone. India had crossed the threshold.
Pakistan felt it had no choice but to follow. This event spurred Pakistan to pursue a weapons capability as well, transforming a long-term goal into an immediate imperative.
Bhutto reacted instantly, calling a press conference to announce Pakistan's response, asserting, "There is no need to be alarmed. This would be disastrous for our national determination." He communicated strength and resolve, assuring the nation they would meet this new reality head-on.
So with the bomb decision firmly made and Bhutto's clear directive, Pakistan embarked on 3 parallel secret programs, simultaneously producing plutonium through reprocessing, enriching uranium, and developing the actual nuclear weapon designs.
This marked the irreversible shift to a full-fledged pursuit, no matter the cost, setting Pakistan on a path of relentless scientific and geopolitical struggle. So the decision was made, the political will was cast in iron. Now, how did Pakistan actually do it, given its limited resources and the massive international pressure?
Well, they embarked on 2 incredibly difficult paths to produce fissile material, the raw ingredients for a nuclear weapon.
Okay.
Let's start with the uranium enrichment route. This was dominated by Project 706 and the controversial figure of A.Q. Khan.
Right.
This project was launched in October 1974, focusing on gas centrifuge technology. A.Q. Khan's letter, offering his expertise, apparently caught the Prime Minister's attention, who famously remarked that the man makes sense.
What truly captures the imagination here is the sheer audacity of this undertaking. Building a gas centrifuge enrichment plant from scratch.
Yeah, that was an extreme technical difficulty, especially given Pakistan's lack of resources and technical know-how.
Can you explain centrifuge technology simply?
Basically, it involves rapidly spinning cylinders filled with uranium hexafluoride gas. This separates the lighter, weapons-grade uranium isotopes from the heavier, less enriched ones. It's incredibly precise, high-stakes engineering.
A technological Everest for developing nations starting from almost zero.
It highlights either a perceived naivety or, conversely, an incredible bold vision on Khan's part.
And the conditions they started with were, well, far from ideal. A testament to their desperate commitment.
What were they like?
Imagine very old barracks with hot tin roofs, ceiling fans that blew more hot air, and apparently lots of snakes residing in the building basement.
Snakes. Doesn't sound like a high-tech facility.
No, not at all. And the early days were fraught with peril, too. The source details an anecdote where an exploding centrifuge sent a splinter flying off, broke through its glass casing, and cut clean through the neck of a glass bottle embedded in the ceiling.
Wow. That's dangerous.
These were their literal learning steps. They even started turning the machines towards walls for safety after that. It truly underlines the dangers and the raw trial and error process involved. This wasn't theoretical physics. It was hands-on, risky engineering.
Indeed. And a critical and often debated aspect of A.Q. Khan's contribution was his access to Urenco designs.
The European Enrichment Consortium.
Right. He apparently spent 16 straight days translating 12 volumes of these centrifuge designs while working in Europe.
That's a massive advantage.
Huge. It solidified the perception that the centrifuge components and their designs were largely imported or copied from abroad. This knowledge transfer was essential for Pakistan's progress, accelerating a process that would have otherwise taken decades.
That leads us to the legendary Tom and Jerry game of procurement in the gray market.
Ah, yes, the cat and mouse game.
Because of increasingly stringent global export controls on nuclear-related materials, Pakistan had to develop a sophisticated, shadowy procurement network.
They couldn't just buy entire units off the shelf.
No. They had to shift from buying entire units to acquiring smaller, independent components to unfinished products from multiple sources across the globe. It was a relentless game with international intelligence agencies.
And these networks don't just spring up, right? They are a product of intense domestic demand and of Western business interests.
Meaning?
There were willing suppliers looking for profits, some unwittingly contributing to the Pakistani program, but others with full knowledge of the end use. It's a complex ethical landscape where profit often trumped non-proliferation concerns.
And Pakistan exploited every loophole and opportunity.
Absolutely.
And the sources are very specific, with examples truly bringing this clandestine operation to life. Leibold Heraeus, a German firm, supplied a specialized machine for centrifuge rotor tubes.
Let's just see components.
Core Engineering, a Swiss company, provided vital gasification solidification units, which, luckily for Pakistan, were on the trigger list of banned nuclear-sensitive items at the time.
A loophole.
Exactly. The French government eventually intervened to stop bellows shipments, also critical for centrifuges, but by then.
Enough technology was transferred to enable the Pakistanis to make the rest themselves.
What's fascinating is the initial surprise of Emerson Engineers, a British firm. They were asked for complex modifications by ERL scientists.
And this challenged what the source calls Anglo-Saxon prejudice about Pakistani incompetence, demonstrating the sheer ingenuity and technical capability Pakistan had secretly cultivated.
Okay, so that's the uranium route. What about the second path, plutonium production?
Right. Pakistan initially planned to acquire a reprocessing plant from France through the company SGN.
Why reprocessing?
They had learned of India's Trombay plant in the 1960s, which had given India the capability to extract plutonium from spent reactor fuel. Plutonium is another route to a bomb. Munir Ahmad Khan vigorously pursued this deal with SGN to acquire similar technology.
But it didn't work out.
No. Despite Pakistan agreeing to all conditions, including IAEA safeguards, intense U.S. pressure via both warnings and offers to share nuclear technology eventually led France to abrogate its agreement in 1978.
Huge setback.
Yes, but it only reinforced Pakistan's feeling of punishment and international demonization for pursuing the same capabilities as India. This incident strengthened their resolve to become completely self-reliant.
Did they get anything out of the French deal?
Even as the main deal faltered, Pakistan benefited significantly from the initial stages. SGN offered a universal machining unit to the new labs, Pakistan's dedicated nuclear research facility.
Which proved invaluable for reverse engineering and indigenous development.
Exactly. This experience, combined with a growing culture of defiance, directly led to the shift towards indigenous plutonium production, notably the Kushab-I production reactor.
When did work on that start?
Work began in 1987 on this 40-50 milliwatt reactor, explicitly for the sole purpose of plutonium production.
This was a monumental project, undertaken with no expectations of foreign help, forcing absolute self-reliance and the development of sophisticated reverse engineering techniques.
Often supported through cooperation with the Chinese, who provided crucial knowledge and components.
And the new labs were key here.
Crucial. Launched in 1973, they benefited from training at European centers like Karlsruhe Nuclear Research Center, KFK, in Germany. Pakistani scientists like Abdul Majid Chaudhry and Dr. N.A. Javed gained expertise in hot cells. These are heavily shielded containment areas used for safely handling highly radioactive materials essential for plutonium extraction.
Anything else?
Well, there was also the acquisition of a tritium recovery production facility from the German firm Linde AG in 1985, installed at Kushab in 1987.
Tritium. What's that significant for?
Tritium is an isotope of hydrogen that, when used in nuclear weapons, can significantly boost their yield. So this acquisition strongly suggests Pakistan was aiming for advanced weapon capabilities beyond simple fission devices.
Though one official involved denied the connection to weapons, claiming it was just a training plant.
Right, there's always plausible deniability in these matters. Regardless, by mastering both uranium enrichment and plutonium production, Pakistan was laying the groundwork for a comprehensive nuclear arsenal.
Creating two distinct paths to fissile material, enhancing its strategic flexibility.
Exactly. So with the mastery of fissile material production underway, the next critical step was designing and delivering the weapon itself, all while managing escalating regional tensions. This was an incredible, multifaceted effort.
All right, we've covered the fissile material, the core ingredients. Now let's get into the actual construction and the intricate dance of building the bomb, often known as the unseen arsenal.
The design phase.
Yeah. The design work was overseen by a highly secretive body called the Directorate of Technical Development, or DTD. It housed highly compartmentalized groups.
Compartmentalized how?
We're talking theoretical physics, fast neutron physics, diagnostics, high explosive, specifically HMX, a powerful explosive compound high-speed electronics, and high-precision mechanical groups, all working under the highest level of secrecy.
So each group knew only what was necessary for their specific task.
Exactly, preventing any single person from having the full picture.
What truly makes this remarkable is the sheer complexity of the design phase for a nation with, well, nascent industrial capabilities. As one scientist noted, it involved identifying the fissile material, choosing a method of detonation, determining what type of tampers and lenses to use, and crucially, how the material will be compressed to achieve criticality.
These are incredibly intricate engineering and physics problems requiring immense precision.
And the Pakistan Ordnance Factories, POF, in WA.
They usually made conventional weapons.
Right. They became the obvious location for the high explosives work. And Dr. Samar Mubarakmand, a brilliant physicist, played a key role in diagnostics.
Diagnostics meaning?
Essentially figuring out if the bomb components would work correctly without actually detonating a nuclear device.
And there's an anecdote about him, too.
Yes, the sources share a vivid one. During a 1983 cold test, Mubarakmand was apparently thrown under the debris. It highlights the extremely hands-on, dangerous nature of this work.
Wow, it wasn't just theoretical, it was physically intense, risky, and a testament to the personal sacrifices made.
These were the cold tests. From 1983 to 1995, the PAE carried out 24 cold tests in the Kurana Hills to test different bomb designs.
Explain cold tests again.
They involve assembling the non-nuclear components of a weapon and detonating the high explosives to observe the compression of a mock fissile core, ensuring the design works without creating a nuclear yield.
And they claimed a high success rate.
Almost 100%, though some raised suspicions that the results were distorted due to the intense secrecy and lack of external verification. Still, these tests were crucial for validating their designs without actual detonation, proving the engineering was sound.
And the logistical challenges for maintaining secrecy were immense. Imagine this. Scientists and engineers personally transported materials and equipment themselves, driving the heavy trucks and trailers for hundreds of kilometers across challenging terrain to isolated test sites.
That level of dedication of personal risk underscores the extreme commitment.
The goal was also to miniaturize the bomb, right? Moving from its original Chinese CHE-4 design to around 500 kilograms and later 220 kilograms.
Making it perfect for Pakistan's delivery systems. They even practiced nighttime drop exercises with F-16s at Sargodha, with airport lights off to evade surveillance satellites or by possible spies.
This shows a highly sophisticated and covert operational readiness, even before overt testing.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the U.S. arms embargoes were critical, particularly the one after the 1965 war and the Pressler Amendment in 1990.
How so?
These actions spurred Pakistan to develop indigenous missile capabilities as an alternative delivery system, because they couldn't rely on getting advanced fighter jets or other conventional weapons from allies.
So missile development became a top priority.
Placed at the top rung of Pakistan's national security priorities. This was a direct, almost desperate response, deeply embedded in Pakistan's strategic culture. It led to near panic to meet the new challenges posed by its chief adversary, India's growing missile program.
They had learned the hard way they couldn't rely on external allies, so they had to develop their own means of delivery for their nascent nuclear arsenal.
And they developed quite a range of missiles, a complex tapestry of indigenous development and international assistance.
Like the early HATF missiles.
Yes, the solid motor HAPS. HATFR with a 100-kilometer range and 500-kilogram payload. Think of these as their first crucial steps, setting an early signal, then the improved HATF or Abdali with a 180-kilometer range.
And foreign help.
Chinese contributions were critical for many programs. The Shaheen, or HAT-4, with a range of 290-650 kilometers, developed from M11 technology, and the Shaheen II, or HAT-FIX, with a much longer 2,000-kilometer range, potentially derived from M-ATDF-11 missile technology.
Though Pakistani scientists insist they're self-reliant.
They do, but external claims often suggest otherwise, pointing to these crucial technology transfers.
Then there was North Korean assistance.
Particularly with the Gari-2, or HATF-E, a 1,250-kilometer range liquid-fueled missile derived from North Korean Nodong missile technology.
Liquid-fueled meaning less ready to fire.
Generally, yes, requires more prep time, but can offer greater range or payload. And later, cruise missiles like the Babur, or HAT-7, with a 700-kilometer range, developed in 2005 to counter India's BrahMos.
The Babur was clever, right?
Very. A terrain-hugging missile, making detection by ground-based radars difficult, enhancing its survivability.
These military capabilities were being developed against a backdrop of intense regional tensions and crises that repeatedly tested Pakistan's resolve.
Absolutely. 3 major military crises in the 1980s, Siachen in '84, Operation Blue Star in '84, and Operation Brass Tacks in '86-'87, along with the Kashmir Uprising in 1990.
All reinforced the strategic belief that a nuclear weapon was the only salvation against India's conventional superiority.
And here's where nuclear signaling became a feature, even when Pakistan's capability was still in early evolutionary stages. These crises validated Bhutto's original decision and reinforced the belief in the invincibility of nuclear weapons.
There was constant fear of attack, too.
Oh yeah, a constant buzzing with conspiracy theories and rumors of preventive attacks on Kahuta, the main enrichment facility, by the U.S., India, or Israel.
The CIA was watching closely.
Detailing human intel, electronic intel, intel of every conceivable nature around Kahuta. The U.S. even considered an Entebbe-type attack, a commando raid, to neutralize it. A New York Times piece even publicized the option, arguably making it unusable by bringing it into the open.
Perhaps the most striking incident of nuclear signaling was A.Q. Khan's incredibly indiscreet 1987 interview with Indian journalist Kuldeep Nair.
Right, during the Brass Tacks crisis. He boldly claimed Pakistan had the bomb.
Which caused problems.
It embarrassed Zia Haq, Pakistan's military ruler then, who was trying to maintain strategic ambiguity. It led to the immediate transfer of the R&D back to the Patik from Khan's Kahuta labs, an attempt to regain control.
And during the Kashmir Uprising in 1990.
With tensions soaring, General Beg allegedly made nuclear threats, stating that Pakistani aircraft could go and strike Trombay, India's nuclear research center.
Even though the capability was uncertain.
Exactly. Despite significant doubts about whether the device was deliverable with any degree of assurance or performance at the time, it shows the early, often blustery use of nuclear threats, even when capabilities were uncertain.
These crises and the secret development of the arsenal, it was all leading to a moment of truth for Pakistan after India's renewed nuclear tests. What really stands out about this period is the sheer relentless pressure, internal and external, that drove these developments, transforming vague aspirations into tangible, if still unproven, capabilities.
Now we arrive at the culmination. The moment Pakistan stepped out of the shadows and overtly declared its nuclear status.
Triggered by India.
Yes. India's Shock D tests, or Pokhran II, on May 11, 1998, shocked the world. Declared yields of 43-carat, claiming a thermonuclear device, 15-carat fission, and 0.2-carat, sub-kiloton devices. Indian Home Minister L.K. Advani declared India a de facto nuclear power.
A direct challenge to Pakistan's security and prestige.
The shock in Pakistan was immediate and profound, triggering intense pressure for a befitting response.
So the leadership had to decide.
The internal deliberations of the Defense Committee of the Cabinet, the DCC, comprising top civilian and military leaders, were crucial. This was despite immense international pressure. President Clinton himself called Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, urging restraint, offering incentives.
The world watched, holding its breath.
And here's where the scientific community played a pivotal role once again. The PAE quickly analyzed the seismic data from India's tests.
And what did they find?
They concluded that India could not claim a thermonuclear test with any credibility, a fact later validated by independent Western sources.
That analysis was critical, wasn't it?
Absolutely. It undercut India's claim of a sophisticated multi-yield test, and it boosted Pakistan's confidence that their own, perhaps simpler tests would be sufficient.
So it fueled the emotional debate within the DCC.
Yes, where the now or never approach was ultimately vindicated. Bhutto's eating grass euphemism was recalled in those tense meetings, seen as having created a national spirit of defiance that had carried them to this point.
So they decided to test.
The preparations were meticulous, shrouded in secrecy. 5 horizontal shaft tunnels at Roscoe Hills in Chagai, Balochistan, and a vertical L-shaped shaft at Caen, about 100 kilometers away, for additional tests.
The actual detonation must have been tense.
The dramatic moments leading up to the push-button method for detonation, with scientists literally counting down, highlight the tension and immense historical importance.
And the result?
When the news broke of the successful tests on May 28th, Chagai I, 5 devices, 45 kilotator total yield, and May 30th, Quran, 1 miniaturized device, 1820 kilotator, there was jubilation throughout the nation.
Pakistan proudly became not only an overt nuclear power,
but also the first Muslim country to acquire a nuclear capability.
But then came the Kargil conflict in 1999, shortly after the tests.
Yes, and that immediately highlighted the urgent need for a robust command and control system. The earlier nuclear capabilities were still, as the source describes, in its early evolutionary stages, more experimental than operational.
The crisis underscored the dangers of ambiguous control.
Exactly. The need for clear lines of authority. What's truly fascinating here is General Musharraf's immediate actions upon taking power in 1999, directly addressing this gap.
What did he do?
He swiftly created the Strategic Plans Division, or SPD, a highly professional, dedicated organization responsible for the security and deployment of nuclear assets. He also formulated a 10-point nuclear doctrine emphasizing minimum deterrent.
Meaning just enough capability to deter.
Right, without seeking a massive arsenal. This was a complete revamp of Pakistan's nuclear security system, establishing clear authority and strict protocols.
This involved forming the National Command Authority, the NCA.
Yes, a top-level body with civilian and military leadership for nuclear policy and decisions, and the National Military Command Center, NMCC, handling operational control and execution.
These structures were put in place to ensure the highest level of command and control and use authorization.
It truly was a transformation from a covert, somewhat improvisational program to an operational, institutionalized deterrent.
Then came the post-9/11 environment, presenting new, complex challenges.
Absolutely. Pakistan became a key frontline state for the U.S. in Afghanistan, a crucial ally. Simultaneously, though, it faced a 10-month military standoff with India from 2001-2002.
Bringing 2 nuclear-armed neighbors to the brink of war.
This period accelerated the pace of the nuclear learning curve, leading to 2 key lessons for Pakistan.
What were those lessons?
First, that nuclear and conventional weapons could be integrated to create a combined deterrent. Their nuclear umbrella could protect against a conventional assault. And second, crucially, deterrence is not automatic. Effective deterrence requires communication.
Meaning you have to signal clearly.
You can have the capability, but if you don't clearly communicate your red lines and resolve, it loses its power. Pakistan had to learn how to signal its nuclear intent responsibly, yet firmly.
Amidst these tensions, Musharraf directed SPD to secure the weapons.
Immediately, to secure all strategic weapons without delay, moving them to hardened silos at secret locations, and closing airports. This demonstrated the SPD's true value under extreme pressure.
But then came the bombshell that rocked global non-proliferation efforts, the AQ Khan network.
The shocking exposure of his private proliferation network. He was found selling centrifuge technology, drawings, even old centrifuges to Iran, Libya, North Korea, essentially privatizing nuclear secrets for profit.
This raised huge questions about oversight and accountability, didn't it?
Absolutely. Within such a secretive program. The motives were described as tremendous greed, hubris, and sheer audacity, and the network operated more like a corporation than an arm of the state.
How did Pakistan handle it?
For reasons of national security, they decided to have Khan confess his crime and seek apology. Musharraf then pardoned him, keeping him under house arrest without indictment.
It highlights the inherent tension between secrecy and accountability, how internal oversight flaws can create immense global risks. It was a scandal that cast a long shadow.
Definitely. And finally, India's cold start doctrine, which emerged in the early 2000s, was a significant strategic shift.
What was that?
It proposed a limited conventional war doctrine, rapid, shallow incursions into Pakistani territory under the nuclear threshold.
How did Pakistan respond?
They developed the Nazar, or Hatfe-X, tactical nuclear missile in 2011, a short-range missile described as capable of carrying a nuclear warhead to close the gap at the tactical or operational level.
Meaning it could be used on the battlefield against invading conventional forces.
Potentially, yes. Lowering the threshold for nuclear use and complicating India's cold start strategy.
It's a testament to the dynamic and often terrifying nature of nuclear deterrence in a volatile region, isn't it?
The arms race isn't static. It constantly evolves in response to new threats and doctrines. Hashtag outro.
So as we bring this deep dive to a close, we've journeyed through Pakistan's incredible, complex nuclear program, from the profound trauma of 1971 and Zulfikar Ali Bhutto's desperate resolve, through the tireless efforts of its scientists in, well, rudimentary conditions, the intricate gray market procurement that defied international controls, the ultimate public tests that declared its nuclear status, and the continuous challenging evolution of its deterrent capabilities in a hostile world.
The key takeaway for you, the listener, is that Pakistan's nuclear capability is profoundly rooted in a deep-seated, never-again strategic culture. This culture was born from a history of perceived vulnerability, initial hesitation, and what it viewed as external neglect and betrayal. It represents a complex interplay of fierce political will, scientific ingenuity born of necessity, and relentless international pressures that shaped its trajectory at every turn.
It's a story of national determination against staggering odds, a quest for survival that literally pushed them to, well, eat grass if necessary, but, as the source notes, a crucial observation for any state to consider.
What's that?
Nuclear weapons alone cannot constitute an effective national security if other elements of national power remain dangerously weak.
That's a powerful point.
So consider this. Given the immense costs and international isolation Pakistan endured for its nuclear program, what does this ongoing tension between nuclear strength and other national weaknesses imply for its future stability?
And indeed, for any state pursuing a similar path in a volatile region, what are the ultimate long-term costs of prioritizing nuclear capability above all else?
A provocative thought for you to mull over until our next deep dive. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Fascinating stuff. We'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.